Hello and welcome back to Tally's Book Club. Today I'm going to be talking about Dune Messiah. This is the second book after the main Dune book. I have written some notes, but some of it's just in my head because I did finish it just yesterday, so apologies if I'm all over the place. But the time for the audiobook is 8 hours 57 minutes. It's a really short book. And there's 304 pages. Dune Messiah is set 12 years after the original Dune book with Paul Atreides, his mother, Lady Jessica, and on the planet Dune. Paul is continuing to be the emperor of the galaxy, and obviously has to deal with paperwork and a lot of laws, and obviously continuing to love his two wives, Chani and Princess Irulan. I think I've said that right. Princess Irulan is his wife that he acquired in the first book, just to be emperor. But Chani is his real love. Chani is a Fremen woman, and of course she was there first. So, and Paul and Chani love each other very much. Paul's sister, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Aliyah, his sister is now a teenager. I think she's about 14, 15. Of course, she is a reverend mother, and she is taking sermons while her mother, Lady Jessica, is out and about, doing stuff. Lady Jessica doesn't obviously appear in the book Dune Messiah very much. There's a few mentions of her. There's like a letter that she wrote in near the end of the book and all that. So she doesn't really appear in this book too much because she is doing the mission. So Aliyah is taking over and doing all the sermons and drinking the sort of drug spice sort of thing, and having visions and trying to help people with their problems. And Paul is still doing all the work with his council and keeping the galaxy together. And he got given a gift of an old friend that's been sort of Frankensteined up to a little bit. His friend from the first book that trained him to be a soldier, Duncan Idaho, is now sort of reborn into another person, but sometimes gets his old life memories back. So they keep calling him Duncan, even though when he's in his second stage of life, I think his name's Hate in his second stage of life, he hates being called Duncan. But when he gets sort of flashbacks and little moments where he cries, just he remembers who he was for only brief seconds. So, but Duncan, or Hate, is been given a gift to Paul in order to kill him. But I'm not going to spoil that just yet, if I spoil it at all or not. But Paul is trying to work out who's conspiring against him, because he knows people are conspiring against him. Even his wife, Princess Irulan, who he married just to get the emperor status, in order to, control everything, because he had to stop the war. But that's how we got Princess Irulan as a wife. But his main love is Chani, like I said earlier. Obviously Paul and Chani are trying to have a baby, and Chani is doing a new diet in order to be more fertile. And of course, the Princess Irulan and the sort of one of the original Reverend mothers from the first book are trying to conspire against Chani to order sabotage the birth. And Paul and Chani find out about this when Chani becomes really ill and gets checked up, and Chani has to keep up her strength by eating a lot more than she normally would, and keep ingesting the spice and try and be as healthy as possible. They're both Paul and Chani are mad about this, but they can't kill Princess Irulan because it would just sabotage everything that they've worked for. But obviously, what can you do when your wife is poisoning your other wife? I mean, that's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Wife poisoning, your other wife, Duncan, or hate, but I'm going to call him Duncan because, it's so often said in the book, becomes really close with Aliyah, Paul's sister, into the point where, spoiler alert, at the end of the book, they actually say they love each other, and but I'm not getting too many spoilers because I did enjoy the book. I'm looking forward to when the film comes out, hopefully in the next couple of years, because I did really enjoy part 1 and part 2. I've still got to get to the original and Children of the Dune. Sorry, June. So, Children of the Dune is one of the next books I'm going to be reading once I've read a few more books. But I'm trying to space them out because I want to continue the story, even though I don't think Children of the Dune is going to continue much from these 2 books. So Paul is working out who's trying to sabotage him, and of course he gets a message from sort of like a teenage girl saying that her father wants to see him, and basically he knows he's walking into a trap, but he's still going to go anyway. So he says he's going to go along, but of course, like, all his guards come with him and all that, and like they're flying in like the sort of helicopter things, and of course, like, once Paul has seen the girl's father, he sort of inherits a little person, because the little person, I think he's like supposed to be like a kind of robot. I'm not entirely 100% on that, so I do apologise if I haven't got that quite right. Because the little person has got all the information of the people that are conspiring against Paul, and as soon as they leave the house of the girl's dad and all that, basically a huge explosion erupts up, and the people that are near the explosion, Paul and Paul's guards, they're basically blinded. Because like the intense heat of the flames and the flash. But Paul can still see, even though he hasn't got any eyesight, he can still see through his vision. So he's able to still see people. And of course, like, the Fremen people aren't happy about people that are blind, because obviously they leave them out in the desert. And of course, Paul says, I'm not blind, I can still see through my vision. So, but he, all the guards that got blinded in the explosion, he buys them fake eyes, like robot eyes, so they can still see. I mean, some people refuse to have them, but Paul in this vision, and the soldiers that actually get robotic eyes, so that would be so nice to have robotic eyes. But anyway, I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, so anyway. Yeah, but I just, like, he buys them robotic eyes, Paul's travelling along with his vision, his, shall we say it's sixth sense, he can still see because of his visions, and of course, like, he has to convince a load of people, because obviously the explosion has scorched, all his eyes and his face, so he's having to have his eyes removed, but he can still see because of his vision. If that makes any sort of sense, please let me know, because I'm not very good at explaining things half the time. So Paul's gone back with the soldiers. He's locked up the little person. He's locked up the daughter of the man that came to him. Obviously he's locked up a lot of people in like this book and the last book. Of course, Cheney becomes pregnant, and obviously, like I said, they find out Paul thinks there's only going to be one baby, but it's in fact two, because Cheney knows she's having twins, but Paul only sensed one baby because of a vision. He sensed the little girl, and of course, like, when Cheney eventually gives birth, you know, going later in the book, you know, so near to the end, when Cheney gives birth, unfortunately, it's too much for her body. And of course, Paul knows she's gone. And at this time, he cannot see. He has no vision. He has heard Cheney call out through the desert, you know, her last breath. And, you know, he's managing to walk just about with guards and all that to where she is. You know, gets told he's got twins, and he's shocked. And of course, basically, through the eyes of his son, he's able to take down an enemy by throwing, or what do they call the knives in that? A crisp knife. He manages, through the eyes of his son, to throw and kill an enemy, which I thought was kind of weird, but kind of cool to see through the eyes of another. That must be really strange. And of course, then you know, with Cheney's body being drained for the water for the people, because obviously water is still a valuable commodity. So I had to slow it down. I just can't get it out all in one when I'm talking fast. So Alia is responsible for the twins. Paul finishes his affairs, you know. He has named his babies. He then goes back to his quarters. You know, Alia and Duncan fall in love, and basically Paul walks out into the desert because he can't see through any of his visions now. So he's basically the Fremen know he's no. If he can't see through visions, he's no use, even though he is the Emperor. So he walks out into the desert. Duncan is extremely sad. You know, he was like, I should have gone with him. You know, how is he going to die? Is he going to, you know, just rot out there? Is he going to get eaten by a giant sandworm? Which I found out, the giant sandworms. Now, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. But I thought the film Tremors and the sandworms in Dune were about the same size. But when I first read Dune a few weeks ago, they are massive. They are so big compared to the Tremors worms. But anyway, that's enough for that. You know, I'm not trying to get into film talk here. I'm trying to get into book talk. So, yeah, he walks out into the desert. You know, is he going to get eaten by a giant sandworm? Is he going to just rot out there, you know, through lack of food and water and heat? You know, he's with Cheney in the afterlife now. Or that's what I think. Alia is devastated about her brother. Still no word on Lady Jessica, their mum. I assume she sensed it, but, you know, there was no word about that in the book. So I don't know if that's going to be in Children of the Dune. So basically, Alia is just still running all the sermons, teaching the twins, you know, the way of the Bene Gesserit life, and because she is still the Reverend Mother, but she's, you know, she needs to train in the next future of Bene Gesserits. What else am I missing? Yeah, Duncan gets all his memories back, you know, because obviously he's been triggered, you know, when Cheney's about to give birth, he's been triggered for a certain phrase by Paul, going back a bit in the book now. He's been triggered by a certain phrase by Paul to actually kill him. And of course, Paul says that trigger phrase. Duncan comes to his senses. He says, run, young master, run. Paul says, no, I'm going to see where this goes. And of course, Duncan wins out overall. and doesn't end up killing Paul. You know, it was sort of like a little experiment by the bad guys just to see what would happen. And of course, like, just to see if he would get all his memories back. And but Paul, no, not Paul, Duncan and God, I'm getting my words mixed up. Duncan and Alia are now together, and I just want to know where this series goes. I mean, there's quite a few books in this Dune series, so I just like, I don't know if I'm gonna get to read all the books, but I just kind of want to, you know, get ahead of the films, sort of thing. Just like, I know at the minute they're gonna be doing a Dune Messiah, so I really look forward to that and seeing that in the big screen. But I just like, I want to try and I want to read the books before the films comes out, if that makes any sort of sense. Just compare what happens and what they cut out. I will say, like, you know, I really am loving this series. I will give this book another 5 out of 5 stars. I feel if you don't want to read the print version, read the audio. You know, because, you know, I have my headphones on, I get engrossed in the world, and nothing else matters. I just thoroughly enjoy the world of Dune, and I can't wait for what's next. So yeah, 5 out of 5 star book. And yeah, just sorry I haven't been posting up, you know, this past week. I've just, you know, I've not been entirely well, so apologies. I am trying to read books quite fast, so I can, you know, write notes and film and edit, and, you know, so just be patient with me, please. You know, it's taken me quite a longer time than I thought it would, you know. But anyway, have a good rest of the weekend. Take care. See you all soon. Bye from Taddy's Book Club.